Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, is one of my favourite fictional characters of all time. From his unbreakable willpower, his incredible intellect, or his fantastic rogues gallery, I believe Batman's stories to have more potential for telling and retelling than essentially any other character. I almost consider Batman stories to be their own genre, split off from that of other superhero media, with the character and story of Bruce Wayne being so malleable, from goof-filled comedies to dark and gritty crime thrillers. And when it comes to gaming, for a long time, this Batman genre was essentially dead in the water. That is, until one single game, one loose adaptation of an obscure 80s comic, completely saved the dying potential of the Dark Knight's appearances in games. Before we fully jump in though, I just want to say that it would really help me out if you could hit like, and if you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube doesn't like showing my videos very much. With that being said, let's jump into a game-changing game. Batman: Arkham Asylum. To fully appreciate what Arkham Asylum did in 2009, we have to look back. We have to look at what came before, starting with the birth of the Caped Crusaders gaming appearances. In 1986, Ocean Software released Batman, a game fairly revolutionary for its time, implementing a 3D world as well as being one of the earliest games to contain save files. The small yet influential game came out to a great success, likely with the boom of incredible Batman comic media throughout the 1980s, as it was released to critical and financial success, coming in at second on the UK sales charts and receiving 9 out of 10 and 5-star reviews from various magazines. And as you can expect, the rampant success of this licensed game spawned a market for a lot more to be made. At this time, the world of gaming was a far more wild, untamed place, with the idea of exclusive licensing rights being nearly non-existent. So as the 90s came in, introducing a fairly disastrous decade for the comic industry, DC were more than willing to shell out licenses to any game studio under the sun. This, as you can guess, allowed a lot of dog shit to kind of force its way into the Batman brand. And so, between 1986 and 2005, a total of 23 games were released based around the Dark Knight, ranging from Schumacher movie tie-ins to arcade racing games. With 23 games in 19 years, it was pretty clear that the Batman brand in games was oversaturated to say the least. So after the release of Batman Begins in 2005, DC and Warner Brothers essentially reclaimed the franchise, halting any new productions until they could truly fix the now soured opinion of the title. And that's where Rocksteady come in. A minor studio back in 2007, they were approached by an offshoot of WB Games to create an entirely new Batman franchise, completely separate from the universally beloved Nolan film trilogy. With most prior games being based somewhat around a film or TV show, this was a completely fresh slate for the character, and so Rocksteady excitedly got to work on the game in May of 2007. After much deliberation, Rocksteady decided it would be best to set the game on the notorious Arkham Island, allowing for a half-linear, half-open world game that could be ploughed through in 6 to 10 hours, while still allowing for extra content for die-hard fans of the character. It was made clear from the offset that the game wanted to stay true to the source material of the character, leaning heavily on Frank Miller comic material, as well as crafting most of the character designs to be fully realised versions of the incredible and iconic artwork of Jim Lee. This dedication to detail is present throughout the entire game, with full bios being written about even the most obscure of characters, really anchoring down the impression of this universe being a lived-in one, with both Batman and his rogues gallery being fully established. This focus on establishing the world really does make the game feel like a continuation of the stories of Frank Miller, as if this game could easily be a line of comics within itself, as Asylum truly grasped the dark, gothic, fear-filled tone of those more gritty 80s Batman stories. And as for character designs, the detail and the respect to the source material, mixed with the incredible graphics and lighting of the Unreal Engine, allowed this game to be one of, if not the most stunning graphical masterpieces at the time. And to say the visuals hold up today is an understatement, with the game still providing moments of excellence that could easily be straight off of current gen hardware. So after 21 months of work, on August 25th, 2009, they released Arkham Asylum. And to say the least, it was pretty hype. Receiving nearly universal critical praise with 9 and 10s across the board, along with, of course, the iconic phrase, "It makes you feel like Batman," audiences and critics were really united over this superhero property, something that seems to be happening less and less these days. With the return of Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, who reprised their iconic roles from the animated series, along with the hype train from The Dark Knight's release a year prior, the game steamrolled game sales charts, drawing in die-hard Batman fans, young and old, as well as drawing in just your average gamer. So with that, let's jump into what makes Arkham Asylum truly so magnificent. Alright, let me get this out of the way first. The critics weren't wrong. This game does make you feel like Batman. There, I said it. The fact of the matter is, Rocksteady truly did capture the essence of what it would be like to be the Dark Knight, crafting their gameplay systems around a perfect balance of player intuition and physical capability. Of course, the main gameplay selling point of the franchise is the revolutionary free-flow combat system, a mechanic that weaved its way into seemingly every single game for the 5 years after Arkham Asylum released. And that's for good reason. The combat is somehow so pinpoint perfect, it's nearly unfathomable, as you take the shoes of a 6'3", 350-pound gymnast, as Rocksteady's combo system allows for some of the most stylized and exciting combat experiences in all of gaming. But despite the heavy focus on counters and dodging, and in some cases spamming X, the game still provides a challenge. Now, I do think that unless you play this game on the highest difficulty, the massive flashing markers are somewhat too forgiving. But when you play the game on hard and are swamped by Joker's thugs, plus a couple of Titan monsters, you do truly feel a sense of fear, as you have to focus on so many things at once, utilizing all of Batman's gadgets and abilities, which is the true reasoning of why taking down 30 enemies with a massive combo streak becomes so intoxicatingly rewarding. However, the free flow combat isn't the only great part of Asylum's gameplay. It's also counteracted by a brilliant stealth mechanic, which perfectly utilizes the idea of Batman instilling fear from the shadows. Although being responsible for detective vision, which in concept wasn't terrible but did somewhat ruin a lot of game stealth for the following decade, the variety of ways the player can make their way past these sections, again using Batman's full arsenal of gadgets, or just his bare hands, is fantastic. The heavy focus on gadgets and equipment is interweaved also with a brilliant progression system. Somewhat lost in modern games, Arkham Asylum focuses on a story-based progression, as Bruce picks up different bits and pieces from the Batcave or the Batmobile when needed, not only allowing for progression through the story, but also for a massive amount of backtracking and exploration in the post-game. Arkham Island acts as a fairly unique world, with a variety of different buildings providing different aesthetics and different challenges, whether it be the Riddler's challenges and trophies established near instantly in the game, or finding interview tapes that provide background to both the villains and the story of the game itself, or finding the mysterious Chronicles of Arkham, which lead you around the island learning the supposed origins of the asylum before being revealed to be simply the ramblings of the egotistical warden Quincy Sharp. The game truly does provide a brilliant equilibrium of gameplay, not overly focusing on any particular aspect, creating an enjoyable and engaging experience no matter what the player might be doing. And with that, we move on to the story, which is probably the most undervalued part of this game. Now, on the surface, Arkham Asylum's story might come across as somewhat bare bones or basic. Let me recap it quickly. Batman captures the Joker, taking him to Arkham Asylum, where coincidentally, all his thugs have just been transferred. Skeptical of Joker's easy surrender, Batman follows him in, to find out quickly that Joker's plan the whole time was to take over the asylum, in order to complete his creation of the Titan formula, an advanced version of Bane's venom. Throughout the night, Batman has to put a stop to this plot, encountering many of his past foes, from Zsasz, Killer Croc, Harley Quinn, Bane, Scarecrow and Poison Ivy. Along the way, he gets sidetracked a few times, having to save the Warden and Commissioner Gordon. Bars, having to stop the chemical getting pumped into the Gotham River, and having to stop Poison Ivy from using her plans to destroy the island. The most interesting parts of the game's story probably come with the side plots, the hidden lore, interview tapes, and chronicles of Arkham, as the game shines when it focuses on an individual villain and their specific motivations. As for the character of Batman, well, he's Batman. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill returned and instantly recaptured the iconic presence of each of their roles, and to me, they act as the definitive versions of both their characters. So overall, realistically, it's kind of a basic Batman story. But, like all great Batman stories, the conflict in Arkham Asylum comes not from whether Bruce will stop the Joker's plan, but whether he can do so without losing a part of himself. Established early on, Batman's no-killing rule is a major part of the combat, and ends up being a major part of the story. That predictability, that one rule he has, is in his eyes what separates him from his foes, particularly Joker.
Stop me once and for all! Oh, you're getting too predictable, Bats. Well, I'd love to stay and chat, but I have a party to organize.
But throughout the night, this fine line is tested numerous times. Because the key to Arkham Asylum's story is the asylum itself. At the end of the day, this billionaire who dresses up as a bat is just as insane, just as damaged as these mentally ill prisoners he fights. It's a theme that's hinted at, but sadly never truly explored with much depth outside of the climax of the game. Scarecrow's thrilling and shocking hallucination sequences that made everyone think that their Xbox had crashed.
Did anyone catch the game last night?
Provided moments of introspection from Bruce on his life's path. However, this side plot is stunted by Batman's true superpower, his indomitable will, as he fights back against Scarecrow's fear toxin, a moment that's reflected during said climax. Joker, with his Titan formula finally finished, intends to end the night with a grand finale, him finally being a physical match for the Caped Crusader. After infecting himself and Bruce with the toxin, the player anxiously waits to see an 8-foot tall Batman erupt. But again, we see the sheer power of Bruce Wayne's will, as he resists the Titan long enough to inject himself with his antidote, showing us what truly separates him from the Joker. Not simply that one rule, but the entire perspective of each of their madness. Because at the end of the day, Bruce Wayne might just be as insane and damaged as the Joker himself. But it's through the way he channels this insanity, directs it to protecting and curing Gotham, to guarantee no child has to go through what he went through, that separates him from the likes of Joker, of Killer Croc, of Harley Quinn, all damaged in their own right, but unable to control their deep-rooted insanity. That all being said though, this moment is followed up with one of the most anticlimactic boss fights of all time. As after about 20 minutes of build up, our final rooftop battle with this jacked up Joker is broken down to little more than a generic combat challenge with a repeated gimmick. The boss fights as a whole tend to be where Arkham Asylum lacks, as other than the unique and terrifying Killer Croc section, most fights come down to repeating the same 3 actions over and over again, with the only type of progression curve being an increased number of hits, making the boss fights far more tedious than they are actually difficult. That being said though, although they're disappointing, they by no means ruin the game, being simply minor, mediocre sections of an otherwise perfect game. Yes, I do believe Arkham Asylum to be just about perfect. Although its story isn't the most unique, it has elements of depth that are sufficient for the first game in what would go on to be an incredible trilogy. The number of brilliant character moments, namely with the villains, mixed with a dedication to honouring the roots of Batman, are enough to create a story that effectively enables the rest of the game to exist. The gameplay of Asylum is really where it shines though, and it was, for me, the spark that really got me interested in comics in the first place. It established one of my favourite characters of all time and put me in his shoes, creating an experience so immersive that it turned every review company out there into a meme. Arkham Asylum truly did change the landscape of gaming forever. Not only being a vital part of the superhero boom of the last decade, it laid the foundation for countless gameplay systems that would be prevalent in the industry for years to come. Not only that, but it did what at the time seemed impossible, reviving the concept of Batman games altogether, and finally providing us a legitimately incredible appearance of the Dark Knight that truly did make us feel like Batman. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, it'd really be appreciated if you could hit like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, turn notifications on, because like I said before, YouTube don't like showing my videos. Also, feel free to comment down below, tell me your experiences with Batman Arkham Asylum, or just tell me what you think of the video. Or tell me how much you hate me, because I do read every single comment. With all that being said, I've been Joe, aka Founded Scarab, I feel like Batman, and I'll see you in the next one.